Hey guys, this is Locke. This is my review of King Mont. To start with, King Mont is a tank, so he has high defense and high HP. Traditionally, tanks have low agility or mobility to make up for their tankiness. Like, for example, Engelbert or Warrior of Light, they are very durable, but they don't have as much agility. Agrius was the first unit that had a very high agility, and that was what actually made her very threatening. Now, King Mont's agility and mobility are off the board compared to everyone else in the tanky department. So first of all, he starts with 53 base agility and plus 12 on the board. On top of that, he gets 12% agility passives on one of his passive skills. He has a 12% active agility, which you will probably want to be using all the time because it also gives hate. On top of that, he has a self-cast buff that increases his CT by 40. So you can use that just to approach enemies, right? Like you can, move like 4 steps and then use that buff, and your turn will come again faster, and then you can move again. So that is a great tool to get closer to your enemies. On top of that, because he has a ninja sub job, he also has access to poison mist, which lets him move around and teleport all over the place, basically. And another passive increases his move and jump by +1, so that he has move 4 and jump 2. As you can see, this is an insane amount of agility and mobility to get around the map. If you want to use him in class matches, generally, like mobility has been an issue, especially if you watch my latest thoughts on class match. Like I thought that generally speaking, you kind of want a move 4 jump 2 unit if they're melee to use in class match, and King Mont is definitely very usable from that mobility department. Now, generally, I usually just have like pros and cons, but this time I split it into different parts because he just has like so many pros. He's a very good unit. So next up, we're going to talk about buffs. He has access to, which I already mentioned, the 12% agility and plus 12 hate buff. I think this will be like one of the buffs that you'll always want to use unless you use one of his passives, and I'll get to that in the next section. But on top of that, he has other buffs that are very good as well. He has an elemental resist buff of 15%, which is just basically increases all like your overall defenses by 15%. Because nobody has like an element. Well, people sometimes do have element killers, but it's not often. So this is going to be very, very powerful. And then again, I mentioned this before as well. He has the plus 15 defense and plus 40 CT buff. And then on one of his sub jobs, he has 25% missile and 25% pierce resist. And especially missile is quite common again in like class matches, but pierce is also up there with units like Kane and Glashella. So this buff is shared by other units like 9S and Elserel. Now, here we get to the section about passives, and the thing about passives is that he has access to basically everything. If you want to build him tanky, you have like 2 passives for that. If you want to build him for mobility, you have 2 passives for that as well. So basically, he has a HP, defense, and hate passive. So if you take this one, maybe you can even turn off the hate skill on auto. It depends really what you're building for, but that is one option. Now he also has another passive that gives him attack and accuracy. He has another passive that gives him agility and luck, and then he has another passive that gives him +1 move and jump. So, for example, if you're thinking you'll be fighting evasive teams a lot, maybe we'll take the accuracy and luck passives, right? If you want him to be really tanky, you will take the first one, which has HP, defense, and hate. And then if you just want him to move around, you'll take the +1 move, jump, or and possibly the agility passive. Basically, there's so many different ways to build him. He's very flexible, and whatever you need him to do, you can find ways to do that within his passives. He's a very very good unit and very flexible. Now I'll get to the section about active skills, and again he provides a lot of utility in the active skills, and these active skills are not buffs. I put that in the buff section. So active skills, he has a skill that can break barriers. I generally always want to have at least one unit that can break barriers because barriers are so common. So many units have access to Saintly Wall or even the TMR buffs that they use that provide shields. So I always want to have a unit with break barrier that's like built into my like team building now. So he fits the bill there. He has another skill that gives you a 25% chance to disable, which is also very powerful. He has another skill which has an AoE to area, so it's a huge area effect skill that decreases slash resistance by 38%. So even if enemies try building slash resist to not take damage from slash resist teams, he has the skill that will be able to lower that resistance, and him and other slash units will be able to damage them for a significant amount of damage. And even if they have no slash resist, like if they have zero slash resist, this will actually take it to a negative 38%. So it'll basically always increase your slash attack damage. So it's a very, very good skill. His limit burst has a high chance of inflicting berserk, and that's very interesting because we haven't seen too many units that have that as a status effect. So not many people are building against that effect. So I think it's a very good status effect to have because it's kind of unique, and people aren't typically building items that give you like berserk resistance. But one thing I should mention also is that his TMR is very, very good. It gives 25 AoE resistance to allies. He himself has a 15 resistance in his mastery to AoE as well. So in total for himself, he gets 25 plus 15, 40, 40 AoE resist. It's crazy. Anyway, going to the cons, there isn't really any cons for him. It's very limited, but he is a 100 cost unit, which means that the cost of pulling him, or sorry, the cost of his shards are 2 times as much. Like if each shard is 50 Vizier right now, for him it'll be each shard will cost 100 Vizier. So to get him from level 1 to 120 in terms of buying shards, it'll cost you 100,000 Vizier, which is insane. And of course, like pulling him on the banner is also a lower rate, simply because he is a double cost unit, so the rates are lower, just like Gilgamesh was, just like Ruin Stern was. But there is a little bit of a way to negate this or manage this cost, because we've been having these banners that give you these coins, which you might be able to buy shards with. You have to confirm on Wednesday if this is possible or not, but using like paid Vizier options, you might be able to get the shards for cheap. And also, like later on, you will most likely be able to find packages where you can buy, paid Viz shards, and his shards hopefully will be included there. So you can buy like say 80 shards for a cheaper than normal rate than if you're buying like free shards with free Viz. So keep that in mind if you are a person that's planning to use paid Viz. Other weaknesses of his is that it's not really a weakness, but he is a fire element, and there is a lot of water going on, so he'll be weak to that. But at the same time, there's also a lot of ice going on as well, and he'll be doing extra damage to ice. So it's interesting because it's a kind of a weakness and a strength at the same time. I guess you can just, if you want, you can just pick opponents that don't have any water in there, and you're good. But it all comes out to team building later on as well, and I'll talk about that in a little bit later. But there is, I think, one main weakness that is just kind of unique to him, which is that he only has height 1 skills. So especially in class matches, this becomes a problem because a lot of times people or maps do have different heights, and sometimes it might be a little difficult to hit them. But I don't think it'll be too much of an issue, just because he has so much insane mobility that you can just get around to different spaces, and you'll probably be able to hit units most of the time when you want them to. Now we will move on to the team building section. And first of all, he can probably fit in just about any team as a tank. At the bottom there, I wrote like basically tank plus healer plus DPS, so you can use King Mont and Yuna and DPS of your choice. It can be Titus, it can be Auron, whoever you want, and that would work. It would be like how Warrior of Light is just in any team that you need a tank for. So he can work that way. But if you want to try some interesting ideas, because he's a fire element, and because you see a lot of water units, in arenas and guild wars and things like that, you could pair him with lightning units. Look, so imagine you have Mont and you have Federica and Nivlu. So he is a good tank. He's going to take all the hate, and the 2 units that are squishy are in the back, and they won't be getting hit, and they have long range that they can stay far away from Mont. That he draws all the hate, he draws all the aggro, and they're just raining arrows down on your enemies. I think that's one comp that could work. Another comp that could work is like, for example, same idea, but you have King Mont, you have 9S, and you have Nivlu or Federica, your choice. And again, very similar, that if anybody is weak to, if anyone is strong against Mont, if anybody is a water type, they are weak to 9S and your lightning units. So if they're a different element, like for example, if they're ice, then there's no problem because King Mont will deal with them. If they're like light or dark or something, they're everyone's neutral from an element perspective. But if they're water, who is strong to Mont and they can possibly dispatch them quickly, you have lightning units to take care of those water units, like very quickly, so that King Mont doesn't go down. So that's one idea that you can pair with them. You can also do like, for example, like 3 fire units with King Mont and Rain and like Luartha or something. But I don't think it's too effective unless you're like specifically hunting like non-water teams or just hunting ice teams or something. You could do that, but I don't see it being very useful, especially in like Guild Wars where there's just like so many units in many different elements, and I think there are better ways of combining King Mont with other units than just going in a pure fire team. But again, if you have ideas where you think it will work, where you can use them in a full fire team, let me know in the comments. I would like to hear your ideas and I would like to learn more. So I'm very definitely looking forward to hearing your feedbacks and your thoughts on this guy. Um, Now, some other final thoughts on the subject. What about his VC? I think that his VC is good. It makes him very tanky. It makes the team, well, if it's a fire team, it makes the team tanky. But I'm not that sold on it because I don't know. Like, I'll have to think about it more. That's why it doesn't have its own section, and I don't want to say anything too polarizing and say it's great or it sucks because I haven't thought about it enough yet. But, it is a good card for a tank, but what I'm trying to decide on is like since he's already so tanky, and he already has like so many different defenses. He has like AOE resist with his TMR, for example. He has missile and pierce resist. He has defense. He has everything. And he has like high boosted HP and I think he has high defense as well, but he has a defense buff anyway. So does he really need the extra, like, I'm assuming 25, 35% HP? Probably 25 from the card. We don't know yet, but that's what I'm assuming. So does he really need that? I don't know. I mean, maybe or maybe not. But for example, like just another idea, you can pair him with a card that gives 20% AoE resist to the whole team. This card, card that he's coming up with, only gives HP to fire units. So maybe a better way of building up defenses is just to go like AoE resist, and everybody has at least 45% resist when he uses this buff. Himself, he has 60% AoE resist, which is insane. So it really depends. I haven't thought about it enough. That's why I didn't want to talk too much about the card. Now, what am I going to be pulling for him? If there's a 9-step banner, I'm almost guaranteed to pull that 9-step banner because shards are typically double cost. So if the 9-step banner is like, 2000 for each step of the banner, I would be pulling on that. Pulling on him himself, I am hesitant to do that right now because with Bahamut, which was also a low rate, double cost thing to pull, I had to spend about 100,000 Visior to get it, and it was like so. It like I understand now that double cost units, it's kind of hard to pull. Their rates are tricky, so I don't know really yet. I'm hesitant right now, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, this is my video for King Mont. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below. And as always, I hope you have a great day. Thank you for watching. Take care now.